You're watching a very vintage Valentine. Dawn of Shabby Meets Bling and me, Monica of Up All Night DIY, hi, are joining creative forces to bring you fun Valentine's projects made with love. I'm making this budget-friendly heart sculpture, Harlow. Let's get into it. To start, we're using a Dollar Tree foam heart and some Dollar Tree tissue paper and some Mod Podge. First thing, I'll loosely trace the heart twice onto a sheet of tissue paper. And I'm going to make this about an inch or so larger than the foam heart. I want some overhang. And then once I get them traced out, I'll cut them out. I apply the Mod Podge in sections to the foam heart, starting in the center. I'll lay the tissue paper layer down, smoothing it out. I want the center to be smooth because we'll be adding clay to that area for Harlow's face. Now I'll continue to Mod Podge the remaining tissue paper. I'll make some relief cuts to the tissue so that it lays flat, as I glue it down. And I'll cut off any excess that's too long. I thought it would be fun to have a little texture on this piece. That's why I'm adding the tissue paper. I could have went with clay, but you know what? Why use up all that clay when the tissue paper looks pretty cool in and of its own? You know what I'm saying? And now here I'm going to cut this off. You can clearly see that's far too long. Then once the front side's done, I'll repeat it on the other side. Now I'll give both sides of the heart a top coat of Mod Podge, and I'm just pouncing this on with a cosmetic sponge. Once that top coat is dry, it'll get 2 coats of CERAMCOAT watermelon, both front and back. Of course, you could use red tissue paper and skip the paint altogether. I only had white tissue paper. I thought I had red, but I guess I used it at Christmas. Anyway, to add some interest, I'm using my good old checkerboard stencil, pouncing on Tropic Bay Blue, turning it so that it's diamond shaped. Now, I've had this stencil for a million years, and I have it in 3 different sizes, so this was the size that I chose. Now, I'm only going to do this on the front, really just for time's sake, but you could, of course, do it on the back if you like, whatever suits you. Yeah, we need an extra square up there. So let me fill that in. I like it. While that dries, let's create her face with Model Magic. I roll out a handful of clay until it's nice and flat. And then I cut an oval from the clay. I made a cardstock stencil for this. Much easier than trying to do it on my own. That would be a disaster. Just patting down the rough edges. Okay, let's take a look. Yeah, that's a good size, I think. To adhere the clay to the heart, I apply some tacky glue, and I'm gonna spread it around with my finger. I want that clay to be well stuck, otherwise it would pop off the paper, once it dried. And this section over here needs a little more. I want to make sure those edges stay down. Now, to make our cheeks, I roll an oblong of clay, about 1.5 inches long, and I'm going to cut it in half lengthwise. I had already made the cheeks and realized the camera wasn't on. So here I am making them again. Right. I position them where I want them to go, pressing them firmly to the clay beneath. And I'm incorporating them by rolling my clay tool handle over the seam, but you know, the paintbrush handle works too. This is just what I had handy. So I'm going to make sure that they're well incorporated with the clay beneath. She gets dimples by pushing the handles up into the underside of the cheek, and I'm going to set her aside to dry overnight. Now we'll make her base. I have a scrap from a large foam ball. I save all my scraps. And I'm going to roll out more clay, nice and thin, and cover the base. Now this piece of styrofoam is that crunchy kind, so the clay really sticks well to this. So I'm just going to press down nice and hard and make sure that it's well stuck to that piece of foam. And then I'll cut away any of the excess clay. Now, I didn't really have a whole lot of clay left over to wrap around the bottom. I trimmed it pretty close to the edge. I left the bottom as is. I'm going to put a piece of felt under there, you know, to tidy it up. Okay, I punch out 3 squares with my square cookie cutter from some clay to embellish the base. And I'm going to turn them sideways as well, you know, to make them look like they're diamond shaped. I used glue to attach these pieces to the base. It really wasn't necessary. The clay sticks very well to itself. So I'm going to have a diamond in the front and one on either side. I didn't bother to make one for the back. Once I get these pieces on, this too will dry overnight. Everything is dry and ready for paint. So I'm going to give her face 2 coats of CERAMCOAT white. Now again, this is totally optional because the clay is white. I just like it to be really bright white. So, but up to you. You don't have to paint it. With my detail brush and Tropic Bay Blue, I'll outline her eyes. One is open and the other is winking. This is really just an outline of my outline. I'll be covering over this with Terry's favorite color, Hippo Grey. I figured I'd use the lighter color first, kind of like a shading, but also this way if I messed up, it's much easier to cover the Tropic Bay than the Hippo Grey. You feel me? Using the end of a paintbrush, I'll dot her eye again with Tropic Bay Blue, and I'm going to go right in the center of her eye. Now I'll come in with Hippo Grey and a smaller dowel and dip dot her pupil right in the center of the blue. With my detail brush and Hippo Grey, I'll do another outline to her eyes over top of those blue outlines. This will be the final outline. And of course I'm going to fill in all that closed eye with the Hippo Grey to make it just look like, you know, she's got lots of lashes there. Okay, now I'll outline the other eye. And I'm just going to go over this little section here because it's not quite wide enough, I don't think. There we go. Now she'll get some lashes, and of course eyebrows, and a couple of wee dainty lashes up here. Just wee comma strokes for her eyebrows. There we go. Back to the Tropic Bay Blue for character lines around her eyes. And I'm also going to lightly shade under her eyebrows. Just again, another wee line of Tropic Bay under there. And then I'll outline her mouth with the Tropic Bay Blue too. Just a wee smile. And she's going to get heart-shaped lips in watermelon. I must admit that this heart is a little wonky, but you know what? I'm okay with that. Let's give her cheeks a couple of wee hearts in watermelon too. And these are just simple strokes with my detail brush. It's cute. She's sassy. Now I'll go over the outline of her mouth with Hippo Grey, and I outline her lips as well. Let's do another wee heart in the middle of her lips for detail. Again, just wee strokes. A white dot highlight in her eye. And you know, I'm going to give her closed eye a white stroke as a highlight too, right? Why not? Let's add some highlights to her lips as well. Time for a touch of shading with Folk Art Floating Medium. The medium is a clear gel, and I prep my brush with the medium, then I'm going to side load with the Tropic Bay Blue. See, I've just scooped that paint up onto the very corner. So now I'll stroke my brush onto my plate to load the bristles. This blends the medium with the paint, and it's going to give me a gradient of color. I'll place the paint corner of my brush where I want my darkest shadow, right along the edge of her face, and I'll float that blue right around the perimeter of her face. And I'm going to reload my brush as needed. I'm going to float some on the top of her cheeks and some under her lips and where her nose will go. A couple of wee tiny white dots on the hearts on her cheeks to highlight. So while that dries, we'll work on her base, and I'm going to give it 2 coats of Tropic Bay Blue. Now that it's dry, I'm going to go over the diamonds on the base with watermelon. I was going to give them 2 coats, but they're going to get glitter, so one's good enough. Now I'll come in and coat those red diamonds with some Mod Podge and sprinkle on some red glitter. And once I get all the glitter on, I'm going to give the base a coat of clear gloss sealer to seal that glitter in and keep it from shedding. I give the heart a top coat of Mod Podge, pouncing it on with a cosmetic sponge. Let's glue on her adorable gem nose. I'm using 3-in-1 glue for this. This is just a tiny little oval red gem that I had in my stash. I thought this would be cute for a nose for her. I pushed a bit of a skewer into the bottom of the heart. This will attach her to her base, but first we're going to frame out her face with some pipe cleaner. I'm going to use a drop of hot glue just to get started, but I used the 3-in-1 glue to attach the pipe cleaner around her face because I found that hot glue tends to pull away from the clay. You know, it doesn't really last long before it's coming off, so definitely 3-in-1 is the way to go. Now, one pipe cleaner wasn't quite enough, so I just snipped off a bit of another pipe cleaner and added it along the bottom. I stacked 2 pieces of this beautiful ribbon on top of each other, twisted it with a piece of pipe cleaner, and I'm going to glue a diamond-shaped red gem into the center with hot glue. I love this ribbon, and I use it sparingly because I can't get it anymore. I think I ordered it online, I want to say from the Wreath Company, somewhere like that, so I'm very frugal with it. As I mentioned, I used a piece of pipe cleaner to tie that bow together, and I'm going to stick that extra pipe cleaner into the heart. And then I'm going to add a little 3-in-1 glue to hold the bow tails down. Now she's looking all fancy. Cute. With hot glue, I'll attach the heart to the base. I'm going to add some glue into the hole for the skewer so that it stays nice and sturdy. As a final embellishment, I'm going to wrap some of this red garland around the skewer, to hide it and to add some glam. And once that's done, she's done. Aw, cute. Here's a final look at Harlow the heart. She's blowing you a kiss and wishing you a very happy Valentine's Day. I hope you liked today's projects. Let me know what you think in the comments, please. I want to thank my buddy Dawn for collaborating with me today on this awesome vintage playlist. Please be sure to head on over to her channel. You'll find a link in the description box for it. I'm sure you already know how amazingly talented she is. If you haven't already subscribed to Dawn's channel, you're going to love it. Head on over there, show her some love. All of my supplies are in the description box. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. Stay creative, my friends. Thanks for hanging with me. See you next time. Up all night with Monica.